With this in mind, I want to go through the 9 principles of recognition. Because what I've been describing to you is the beginning of recognition. Until we had this discussion, or until I said this, had you realized what I've just said? Had you realized thoughts appear and simultaneously there is a tendency to engage? Had you clearly seen this in yourself? Brilliant. Okay. All the time? That's the big one. All right. 9 principles of recognition. First of all, recognition is not linear. It is not due to reason or logic. So we don't arrive at recognition through some process of reasoning, through some process of analysis or logic. That is not the way we arrive at recognition. We may do that in other areas of life, but in our mindfulness insight training, it is not that. It's something different. Number 2, we create conditions. We create conditions. So our insight training revolves around the second point, creating conditions, out of which recognition will arise. Number 3, we create these conditions through inquiry. Hifawith, are you all familiar with Hifawith? How I feel about what I'm feeling. Hifawith. Reflection and resting. Which is the most difficult of those 4? Inquiry, Hifawith, reflection and resting. Resting, yeah. In the beginning of our training, we probably don't even know how to rest. We might have difficulty recognizing the resting mind. So those are the 4 trainings we go through that produce the conditions for insight to arise. We prepare the ground. Number 4, the exercise sensitize us. The exercises sensitize us. We do not move towards a defined goal. Why would you think that is the case?
It takes the striving away. If we're moving towards a goal, there's that sense of...
If we walk towards a goal, there's a sense of striving, yes, but there's another bigger reason.
There's a sense of some expectation.
It would create an expectation, yes, but there's a bigger reason.
Preference.
Yes, good.
Doing.
Huh?
There is no goal.
There's no goal, why not?
Because it changes over time.
Huh?
It changes over time. You can't.
It changes all the time. In what way does it change?
Because you're trying to accept things so that there's no goal.
Yeah, we're accepting.
It's a doing activity.
Yeah.
Doing
Towards a goal is a doing. But there's a much better reason why we can't strive or move towards a goal. We don't know what it is. We don't know in advance what it's going to be. Insight comes upon us. It arises by itself and informs us. So you will never know in advance what your insight is going to be. And that is the very nature of insight. It is like a first time clear seeing. Would you like a definition at this point? You know, lawyers love to define things, don't they? I've already defined it. Why didn't you tell me that? Insight is recognizing.
You didn't know what it was going to be.
Okay, so we don't know in advance what it's going to be. That's why we don't have goals. 5, insight or recognition arises on its own. It arises by itself, often in retrospect. So, it's not unusual to be in a situation where you know something's going on, and you can't quite put your finger on it. And then afterwards you realize, oh yes, that's what was happening. Have you ever had that? That's the nature of insight. It's that recognition.
Well, that sounds like we already knew, but we didn't know we knew.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Recognition, it's like
Yeah.
recognizing some inner
Perfect.
awareness.
Yes. Yes, you could say in a way we do already know. Was it Socrates who worked on that principle? That
I don't think.
all the students already know, you've just got to draw the answer out of them. Isn't that the basis of the Socratic teaching method? Yeah, so I think at a certain level we already know. Yeah. So we're recognizing our already knowing as we go along. Number 6, part of our training is to recognize recognition. Part of our training is to recognize recognition. And that's why this retrospective one can often be so interesting, where you'll realize that perhaps during a discussion or during some form of interaction, you picked up that something was going on. And it may even have influenced the way you behave, but you only clearly recognize afterwards, oh, that's what was happening. So our first understandings of insights may be precipitated by interactions with the world or other people around us. But what we're looking at now is training ourselves to recognize more and more and more our own experience and how we are with it. Number 7, in recognition there is no element of fixing or meeting expectations. There's no element of fixing or meeting expectations. For example, one of our biggest issues is, I want to get rid of ... I want to get rid of my pain. I want to get rid of my obsessive thinking. I want to get rid of my neurosis. I want to get rid of my anxiety. I want to get rid of my girlfriend. I want to get rid of my boyfriend. I want to get rid of my wife, my husband. I want to get rid of. So our minds are very much geared to doing mode. We're very geared to doing. And we become baffled when we're presented with the possibility of getting somewhere without doing to get there. So when I say you don't do to become insightful, the mind is baffled because everything it has known previously has been the result of some form of doing, hasn't it? You know, I had to work at my mindfulness, I had to do it, I had to make it happen. But suddenly now, there's this idea of nothing to do, except create conditions. So there isn't a direct trajectory that we can identify in advance. So at this point, what we become clear about is the constant presence of the wanting mind. The wanting mind. Almost all the time, we are experiencing some level of wanting. No, I think this is all part of 7. Sorry. It's all part of fixing and so on, because the wanting mind wants to fix. Okay, can you all spot your wanting mind? It wanted chicken soup for supper and it didn't get it. Number 8, wanting drives preference. Wanting drives preference. And this is why central to all our insight training is learning to understand the egocentric preference system. You've all been introduced to that guy by now, haven't you? EPS. So this is why it's a central issue. Egocentric preference system. Because slowly we begin to discover that this is the magnet in the middle of almost everything. It's got a few others attached to it, but it's the basic magnetic force. The most important recognition is one you know I'm always talking about, the subliminal reflex. Subliminal reflex. And you can see already when we go into the dimension of insight, we are going to be addressing more and more and more the subliminal.